Elmwood. Van Ness at the bottom of the screen that runs to the left and right. And Norton Street, which runs north-south over here, that's Norton, that runs from left screen to right screen at the bottom left to top right, that's Norton. LAPD has boxed in some cars here. They're going to take in those people into custody and tow those vehicles. Also, vehicles that are blocked in up here as well. So all these vehicles on this area here will be arrested and impounded. The people there, some protesters there that are kneeling down in the street. This is on Van Ness and Maplewood. They're calling for tow trucks to come into the area to help once the people are arrested out of the vehicles. They're going to have to tow quite a few cars out of here. And if you live in this area, if you live on these streets off of Van Ness, Rosewood, Elmwood, off of Norton, you're not going to want to come out of your house. You're going to want to stay in your house, and only because the LAPD is going to arrest people that are on the street. Because of the curfew that's in effect, they're going to arrest anyone that's out right now in this neighborhood of about 3 or 4 streets that I just mentioned. They're going to take those people into custody. They're in cars. Here comes this. Okay, Jack, thank you. Copy, Jack, thank you. Here's the skirmish line that they're talking about pushing south down Van Ness. They're approaching the people now that are laying down on Van Ness. A group of protesters, they're going to likely take them into custody, but really they're talking about talking about all those vehicles right there in the center of your screen that are going to be, people in them are going to be arrested and taken into custody. Some protesters in the street that are being approached. Keep the orbit going, Chris. Looking for a group, Chris, that's running down there between buildings, so if we keep the orbit going, we'll be able to see it. Van Ness and Rosewood. Here we go. This is what we're looking at. This group of people running through, trying to get out of the containment area. See them jumping fences here, trying to get out of the area as much as they can to avoid being arrested. They're coming off of Norton. There they go, a couple more. Man, they're jumping up on the fence. They're coming off of this street, Norton. They're trying to make their way through the apartment complexes. They actually got on the roof. So this group as well, they will eventually go after them. If they stay on the roof, they'll make arrests there. Here's the protesters on the ground laying out. So the people that were on the run through the apartments here just made their way up onto this apartment complex roof. There's a line of quite a few people, some of them sitting down there. But those people will be arrested as well. They've made their way on the roof line overlooking the demonstrators here that are prone out peacefully on the ground on Van Ness on the street there. The cars here trying to make their way out of here. But there really is, I don't think, an outlet for those cars. You can see more of them there that have just pulled back there and stopped. Van Ness and Rosewood, Van Ness and Rosewood. Van Ness and Rosewood. They're trying to avoid being arrested. They're trying to get their cars off the street. A bottleneck now has become in this apartment house driveway where there's some limited parking in the back, but a line of cars just ducking into this driveway. You can see them pushing off into the back and really just nowhere to go. Other vehicles that belong there just have nowhere to go. The people abandoning their cars, running into the apartment complex here and making their way to the roof. They might feel that that's a safe place to be, but the airship overhead is keeping an eye on that group of at least, we're guessing about 30 people there so far that are on the roof and more coming up. In the meantime, that's Rosewood there. One street to the south is Elmwood, where there's a team of officers that are moving through, and you see they've pushed off here in their vehicles to the west. They've sat down. They look like they are already detained. And now the focus is going to turn in a short time as the people on the rooftop of that apartment complex you see here at Rosewood and Van Ness some of the cars that are there. I don't know if they've been abandoned or not. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. They're on the west side of Van Ness, just north of Rosewood. They're pretty much stuck on the roof. This is Van Ness. They're just north of Rosewood, these people laying on the street. Van Ness, just north of Rosewood. Maplewood and Wilton is where the arrest team is going to move in, or at least one of the groups of the arrest teams. So they're talking about these people Yeah, so these people they're going to arrest, it sounds like first, and then they're going to focus on the people that are on the roof right there. And then that is Rosewood right here where a couple of vehicles have been abandoned. Those cars were desperate. These people were desperate to get into some sort of parking, and they looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. There's about a dozen cars that are pulled into that parking lot. They have nowhere to go, and the people just abandoned their cars and got on the roof. Saddle. We're still in Hollywood. We're still in Hollywood. Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, we're just in an orbit. Could be the camera ball that might be blocking at times. We're good, Casey. You can just keep it going. Three, 5, 6. Okay, Jack, thank you. Will do. NOC from Bravo, we have been cleared. We're going to start pulling out of here, and we'll.
Gravity.
你有工卡吗？你有工卡？哦，那你现在是拿政府补贴啊？哦，好吧，你给我微信啊，微信我吧，好吧？好，你对，你微信艾特我了，好吧？有说的话我会找你，好吧？我明白。来，那不用多少，做一千就可以。 做一出手你就知道了，好吗？好吗？好。你有伤吗？你有伤吗？没伤。你没事啊，行，有时间我会找你啊。好，拜拜。
Yeah, I can do a saddle or cage way. I think so. Jamie, I copied we're streaming. What was the last part? Alright, 10-4. And did you say we're doing both or just NBC? Thank you. And thank you to all of you who are joining us online. I'm Eliana Moreno up here in East Shop before Alpha, along with my pilot Saro Garabetian, watching as officers from the LAPD take several I'm not going to call them suspects, pardon me, several protesters into custody. These are individuals who were peacefully protesting throughout the day here in the streets of Hollywood, and currently we're at Van Ness Avenue and Rosewood. And now the reason why these people are being taken into custody isn't necessarily because they committed any other crimes. It's actually just for the curfew violation. So that is why these individuals are being taken into custody. But as you can see, None of them are resisting. They are all down on the ground, some of them with their hands behind their backs, or in the case of some of the individuals that are just to the south, their hands just out to their sides. And again, all of these people will be taken into custody for curfew violations. There have been other arrests, though, throughout the day for people that have engaged in criminal activity, such as looting. But again, the people that we see here are being arrested for violating the 6 p.m. curfew in the county of Los Angeles. And again, these people are on the ground at Van Ness Avenue and Rosewood. And I am differentiating because there's people who are on the roof. So there's an apartment complex just to the west of where those people are on the ground. And these people are on the roof. Now, these are not people who live in this building. They are people that were going to be arrested also for violating the curfew, but they were able to drive their vehicles to the back side of this apartment complex and get up on the roof. Now, in listening to the scanner and listening to the airship overhead, they think that perhaps these individuals think that the officers cannot see them, which is true. The officers on the ground cannot see the people that are up on the roof. However, there is a police helicopter that is circling the area, and the police helicopter obviously sees them and is therefore relaying the information to the officers on the ground. And what's going to happen here is they're going to take care of the people who are on the ground first, take them into custody, put them into slammer vans, or put them into the sheriff's transportation buses or squad cars if they have enough squad cars for it, and take them to jail. And once they're all done, then they will focus their attention on the people who are up on the roof. So you see these people being taken into custody as well, also for curfew violations. And I'm hearing that the ground units are actually asking for additional buses. And like I just mentioned about a minute ago, they need the buses to transport the people who are being detained to jail because there's just so many that are being taken into custody tonight for the curfew violations. In this shot alone, I see 4 people that are being apprehended by the authorities. And again, these were people who were out and about past the 6 o'clock curfew. They're being very serious about this. It's not to be taken lightly. If you are out, you do run the risk of getting arrested. Throughout the day, though, in covering the protests that have taken place today, for the most part, they have been very peaceful protests. We saw thousands of people walking the streets of Hollywood, and there were even some cases where some of those protesters had the opportunity to get on the 101 freeway, but they didn't do so. Go ahead, sir. Okay, more units are coming on the 101. I'll pan this shot over there real quick, and then we can always come back to this. I just want to show you this shot that my pilot, Sarah Garabetian, saw out of the window of News Chopper 4 Alpha. You can see that there are a number of units arriving on scene to assist with the arrests that are taking place. And I'm going to just zoom in here. I want to see who those units belong to. And these are, in fact, units of the LAPD. I can tell by the symbols on the doors. So yeah, these are going to be LAPD units that are coming to assist. The first couple units that are in line there are actually units from the Hollenbeck Division. Hollenbeck is over in the Boyle Heights area, and we haven't heard about a lot of police activity over in that area, so they're able to release some of their units to come assist here in the Hollywood area where they are necessary due to all of the curfew violations in the area. We're seeing some more cars there, so we're going to move this shot there. You look at that vehicle there, it had about 10 people in the back. So these are most likely people who had been participating peacefully in the protests throughout the day that are now trying to clear the area. But they're trying to do it quickly because if they don't do it quickly, they can't get arrested. So that's why you see some people running, you see people jumping in the backs of cars, trying to get out of the area because, again, they could get arrested. And just down that street, down that very same street, is where we see all of those units quickly approaching. So just like that, the units that we just saw on the freeway are already starting to stop some of the vehicles in the area for the curfew violations that are taking place here. So we're going to focus in there on that little street there. It's off of St. Andrews. We still have a number of vehicles here just trying to clear the area. We have some additional protesters right there. It looks like they're still full-on protesting because they still got their signs up, waving them, honking, I'm sure. But you see in the back of this Toyota truck, there's, I'm counting, close to about 10 people in the back of this truck. It could be dangerous because a slip of the foot on the gas pedal and this car could take off and some of those people could come out flying. Which leads me to talk about injuries today. We actually haven't heard about any. Haven't heard about anyone getting hurt, whether officers or, oh, there we go, we just saw a firework. Let me widen out and see if we can capture the next one, if there is a next one. Obviously, there's been a lot of arrests today. We've already witnessed some ourselves. But in terms of injuries, that is unclear at this time. And we just saw some fireworks there. This is going to be Wilton Place. So this is going to be an alleyway off of Wilton Place with a cross of Lexington. Again, all in the Hollywood area. So you still do have some protesters out and about here. This is going to be Wilton Place. And now they're turning onto Lexington. So this is going to be Wilton, or Lexington from Wilton. For the most part, people are in their cars. There's not that many people out on the sidewalk at this point. So hopefully people are just trying to clear out of the area because the sooner they clear out, the sooner they can go home and not be at risk of getting arrested by the LAPD for the curfew violations. But look at this. There's this car that's going through, and his car is fully, or partially open there, rather. Not really sure why on that one, but again, people just kind of still making their way through the area, perhaps just trying to get back to their vehicles where these protests began so that they can get in their cars and leave. But curfew was initiated 2 hours ago, so they have had the last 2 hours to get to their cars, and it looks like maybe now there's finally a push to do it. If they do not clear the area and go home, again, they will be arrested, at least for the curfew violations. In some cases, though, some people will be arrested for vandalism, looting, just depending on if they are found to have been engaged in any of those activities. But we are now Van Ness and Fountain. Van Ness and Fountain here in Hollywood. So, Sarah, let's go back right now. The airship's going to get on the loudspeaker and tell them to get down. Yeah, and if they don't, then they're gonna need us. Okay, 10-4. Actually, Sarah, can we head over to Santa Monica and Bronson, which is also very close? Let me see. So Bronson is going to be... So I think we're actually right on top of it. Let's see. Other way. Right around there. Right? Okay. Here you go, desk. Santa Monica and Bronson. And for all of you who are watching us online, we have now made our way to Santa Monica and Bronson. We heard about some activity going on here, perhaps some broken windows. So this is what the scene looks like here. You have a mix of LA City Fire as well as the LAPD blocking the street. And there's a few civilian vehicles here in the area, but I'm not seeing anyone inside of the cars. So perhaps the people that were in those cars have already been apprehended, and then the cars will be towed away, as we've seen in days past. And all of these people here appear to be under police custody. Let me get you the name of that business. Hollywood Boulders. So Hollywood Boulders right there on the corner of Santa Monica and Bronson. You see all of these people about to be escorted over, likely to either a slammer van or a transportation bus, which I think, yeah, it's just down the street here. So let's see. We'll widen out the shot just a bit. And there it is. There's more coming. There we go. There's the buses coming. So these are the transportation buses. They're usually used to transport inmates from one jail to another, or in some cases to transport inmates to court. And it looks like some of those are making their way into the area because they will be used to transport the individuals that are being apprehended tonight. Here in this little cluster of people, we have at least any damage. That's a home. Jack, these are mostly apartments, so we're not really seeing any damage. And we're checking the windows here in the areas. There's somebody over there, but we'll try to squeeze our way in. Sarah, would you mind getting on the other side so we can just check? No, it's okay. We can do it. some desk over the microwave. Yeah, not seeing any damage to that building there on the corner either. If we can't desk, we'd like to go look at the apartment building where the people are on the roof. They're about to give an announcement that they have to get off, or they're gonna come up with plan B. Okay, perfect. Can we go back to the apartment, sir? So for everyone who's watching us online, we're trying to make our way back to the apartment building where there's the people on the roof. We are hearing over the police scanner that the airship is going to make an announcement and give people plenty of time to get down voluntarily and submit to arrest. However, if they don't come down voluntarily, then the LAPD is going to have to execute Plan B. And at this point, they didn't reveal what Plan B is, so we will find out together. And but you can see that there's still plenty of people up there. Some of them are laying down, but I don't see any with their hands behind their backs or anything like that, like we saw on the ground. But we heard that the announcement is coming soon. So when it does come, and that's going to come from the loudspeaker of the helicopter. Oh. Good catch. Hey, so I couldn't tell from my vantage point what they were doing laying down on the roof, but my pilot Saro actually thinks that they are writing something with their bodies. So we will try to figure out what they could possibly be writing. I think that last letter is an M, as in Mary. So possibly BLM is what they're trying to write, Black Lives Matter. But it does look like an L and it does look like an M. So it looks like they're just trying to get a few more people in a place to form a B. B as in boy. So it is a little bit difficult to make out, but it does spell the letters B as in Bravo, L as in Lima, M as in Mike. BLM, which stands for Black Lives Matter. So thank you to Saro for noticing that they were trying to form letters down there. We're still waiting on the announcement from the LAPD helicopter that is going to ask the people who are on the roof to come down voluntarily. And just because they come down doesn't mean that they won't be arrested. They will be arrested, but at least it will all be by their own fruition. And then if they don't come down, then they will come up with another plan. And it sounds like the announcement just came out because I hear the police helicopter saying that no one is moving. So now the officers will have to go upstairs. So that'll be really interesting to see how the officers get up there and how does the crowd take it once the officers get up there to arrest them. Oh, there we go. We do have some officers arriving, but they're going to stay, it looks like it's the building right next to the one where everyone is up on the roof, and that's going to get people to scatter. And this is their way of getting down. Some of them are trying to hide, but a good number of them actually went into the building, and then that'll eventually lead them down, of course, unless they somehow managed to hide inside of one of the apartments inside of this apartment building. To the mayor's call, thank you. More protesters? Okay, thank you. So as we continue to watch the people who are on the roof here and the efforts of the LAPD to try to take them into custody, Saro, my pilot, has his head on a swivel, and he's telling me about the other things that he's seeing out from his side. And he says that he sees additional protesters on Sunset Boulevard. A lot of them are running. And then over by the mayor's house, the Getty House on 6th and Irving, where we saw a very large demonstration earlier today, he says he sees some police vehicles heading in that direction. Now, I don't know if the entire crowd has dissipated over there in the Hancock Park area over at the Getty House, but once this situation that we're monitoring now resolves itself, then we'll be able to go take a peek and find out what is going on over there. But for now, we're going to focus our attention here on this apartment building. It's on Van Ness with a cross of Rosewood here in the Hollywood area. And we had a lot of people on this roof. Now that number has probably diminished by half, and we're closer probably to about 20 people on the roof. But it doesn't mean that people have gotten out of the building. Whatever that staircase leads to is likely going to lead them directly into the apartment building. But then from there, we need the individuals to get out and get out onto the street, and the street's going to be Van Ness, where there is a team of officers waiting to take them into custody. Now, this team has already taken a number of individuals into custody. You see one man there, and there are some buses nearby as well as some vans that will take them over to jail for breaking curfew. We don't know that these people are responsible for any other crime at this time. But you can see that not everyone is resisting or not wanting to be arrested. Some people have come out of the building voluntarily, or never went in and were out on the street and are now being taken away. But then you have all of these people here who are still trying to seek refuge on the roof of this apartment building in Hollywood. So as you can see, most of the people that are up on the roof have gathered around the roof access point to the roof. So that's going to be the stairs that are going to lead them up to the roof. And from what it sounds like over the scanner, you're able to go straight from the street. There's some sort of staircase where you can go straight from the street up to the roof. So perhaps it doesn't wind its way through the apartment, which if that is the case, the LAPD is going to be able to get right up there and not have to work their way through the apartments in the building. This is going to be a two-story. So it's a two-story apartment complex here in the Hollywood area, just off of Van Ness and Rosewood, where all of the people that were up here are gathered right there. I mean, if they want to come down, that's the spot to be, because that's where the stairs are, unless there is something preventing them from going down, perhaps an additional door that is locked and preventing them from coming down. But if that's the case, there were some officers that weren't far from them that they could have spoken to and explained, hey, we're trying to get off, but we can't because our access point has been closed. And our gas? Perfect, thank you. So Sarah was just telling me that he sees about 100 people that are driving on Wilshire, and those are going to be people that shouldn't be in this area. They should have cleared long ago, and they may be just trying to avoid getting apprehended by police. But this up here on the roof is so fascinating. Just want to see how it plays out. So we're going to continue to monitor what we hear on the scanner, what Sarah's looking at from his vantage point, and then these folks here on the roof. So the airship is saying kind of what we were saying just now too. They said, just keep us posted on that crowd that's on Wilshire Boulevard. Let me know what happens if it continues to grow. But for now, he kind of wants to keep his attention on what is happening here on the roof of this apartment building. And I'm also looking out towards the 101 freeway. That's going to be the southbound 101 coming through the Hollywood area. There is about a dozen squad cars, maybe more, that is running lights and sirens south on the 101 freeway, coming out of the San Fernando Valley and down into the Hollywood area to assist with the arrests that are taking place. Okay, go for it. So I have to tell you guys, we've covered a lot of pursuits where sometimes at the end the person will run away from the car and somehow find their way onto the top of a building. Usually, though, it's not an apartment complex. It's usually a home. And there's been times when we've watched people on top of a home for several hours till they finally come down. And it's usually a few things that will get to them. One of them is depending on the weather, that they get cold or that they get hungry or that they get tired. In this case, though, I've never had a situation like this where we have multiple people on a roof like this. And especially for what you could consider a very minor crime, which is a curfew violation. So these people would really be better off just coming down and being arrested by the authorities, because that's basically the plan that the LAPD has, regardless of whether they come down voluntarily, is to take these people into custody. They've gotten the order to come down from the helicopter, and they heard it very well. And they even had a team of officers go to the building next door and give them the warning in person that they had to come down, but I would say that at least half of them are still up there. Now there is just a staircase that leads from the roof down to the bottom floor, and it's where most of them have gathered, so I don't believe that there is any other door that perhaps somebody else locked on the way down that is keeping them up there. And if there is, then of course I can see them, several of these individuals they do have access to their phones, so they would be able to contact someone and explain what is going on. So at this point it does appear that it is completely voluntary for these individuals to remain up on this roof, and they simply don't want to come down. But it's just a case of delaying the inevitable. They will at some point be taken into custody. The group over there. Thank you. So Saro is hearing that there's another big group at Hollywood and Gower, and I will now communicate with Jack at the assignment desk. Jack, go ahead. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of officers here, Jack. They are. They already took everyone who was on the ground in custody, and now they're just here to take the people who are on the roof into custody. And you can look at all of the people there at the... So Jack, since I think you're still there, did you want Hollywood and Gower, or should we wait this out a few more minutes? Are they the ones that were on the 101? Does it look visual? That's it? Okay. Another location? Perfect. Okay, we'll do. Yeah, just about a minute away. We'll go look. We can go look at the Hollywood and Gower, I see. Oh yeah, Santa Monica coming up here. Yeah, Hollywood is 1. Gower is going to be... Yeah, that's Gower right there. go to the left, as in to the east, or to the right? Okay. That one right there? Okay, cool. How are we on fuel, Sarah? Probably a little more. Anyways, and here's that crowd that we heard about that was on Hollywood and Gower. They've now made their way south. Could I try K-Joy? I'm sorry, I missed what you said. What was that? Jack, this is El Centro and Sunset. El Centro and Sunset. And I see from Alpha. Did you need me to switch hilltops? Okay, sounds good. And for all of you who are watching this online, we made the move over from the apartment complex on Van Ness and Rosewood and are now at Sunset Boulevard and El Centro Avenue. You see the light there? That's not from us. That's the night sun from the LAPD helicopter trying to shine it on the front of the crowd. And the reason why he's doing that is he's trying to draw attention to this crowd so that additional ground units that are in the area could start making their way over to these streets to try to take some of these people into custody. And there's a fire engine trying to make that turn, so hopefully everyone comes to a stop so you can proceed through and carry on. I haven't heard what type of call the fire department may be on in the area, but you can see that you have at least two fire trucks pulling up as well as an investigator. There was an investigator's vehicle traveling with them as well. Suspicious fires over the last few days, so any fire that does occur in the area will be investigated by arson investigators. And again, this is going to be now Sunset. The cross is going to be Gower. So Sunset and Gower in the Hollywood area. We have spent a good chunk of our day today in Hollywood covering the protests, mostly peaceful protests that have taken place here today. Back to the roof? Yeah, we'll do. Back to the roof, Sarah. And we took a quick peek there. We know where those people are at. That's going to be Sunset and Gower. We're going to go back to the apartment building because we want to see what's going on over there to see if the people that were up there came down voluntarily or if they're still up there, if they're going to be taken into custody. I see an airship down there, so that's going to be the LAPD airship. They do fly a lot lower than we do, so whenever you see an airship or a helicopter go through our shot, it is because they are the police helicopter. So he's circling the apartment building, and we are just coming overhead here. You'll see the night sun from his helicopter hitting the top of the roof there. And it doesn't really look like anyone has come down. It still looks like the same number of people that we had here minutes ago when we were checking it out, but I'm now starting to see some people make their way down the staircase. You see that gentleman there in the red jacket? He's starting to work his way down. Right there, yeah. I see him, thank you. I don't know. So for those of you who are just joining us and you're wondering what it is we're looking at an apartment building that's off of Van Ness Avenue and Rosewood in the Hollywood area. And all of the people that you see up on the roof are wanted for violating curfew. And yes, technically you could say, well, they're not really out and about, but what happened was the police were trying to take them into custody. From what I understand, and they drove to the back of this random apartment complex. We don't think that the people up here have any association with the apartment in any way, but they drove to the back of the apartment building and then climbed up to the roof. And at one point, there was probably about 40 people up here. About half of them have decided that they've had enough and have worked their way down the stairs down to the ground level, which is going to be Van Ness. So that's going to be Van Ness and Rosewood, where I'm going to push in here so that you can see the police officers that are down there. That's just officers that are down there. There's additional officers just on the back side of those trees, and then there's some more right in front of the building. So they're trying to convince everyone to come down. The helicopter did make an announcement advising everyone that to please come down and that they would be taken into custody, because even if they don't come down voluntarily, they will take them into custody some way or another. That was their plan B. And at one point, we saw a team of officers, and I can actually still see one officer there. They worked their way onto the apartment that is next to the one that we've been focusing on, and they came right up to the individuals that are up there. And if the helicopter announcement wasn't clear enough, they made it clear in person. But even then, this group still decided to refrain from coming down, and they're still up on the roof. Again, this is going to be Hollywood, Van Ness, and Rosewood. So the police department is saying they have 20 in custody, which basically matches what we were thinking. We thought there was about 40 people up there initially, and we lost about half of them. So it does appear that we still have about another 20 up there. You can see that there's some more officers down at the ground level, and this is going to be the next apartment complex over. So at one point, the police helicopter said that he thought the people up on the roof simply just thought that the officers on the ground couldn't see them. But of course, with the helicopter above it, it makes it pretty difficult to hide. And for that reason, the helicopter observer kept his eyes on the folks up here, and he relayed the information to the units below. And I'm just listening over the scanner. There was that other group that we were looking at a few minutes ago that was at Gower and Sunset when we left them. And we're now hearing that they dispersed into two groups, and one of them is continuing near Gower and Sunset. Another one is going to go over to a smaller street called El Centro. So it looks like that group that we were monitoring, that for the most part was made up of vehicles, more vehicles than pedestrians. That group is now splitting up in two. We switched hilltops to K-joint. Yeah, because the saddle wasn't holding well. In a saddle, yeah. Yeah, because that's the one we were into earlier, and we had the same issue. So we're still monitoring the group here up on the roof, and I'm actually going to widen out. I just want to show you guys where we are in terms of distance. I'm going to ask Sarah how tall we are. Are we about 2,000 feet, Sarah? 1,500. So we're about 1,500 feet above the scene, and that's the police helicopter circling right above the apartment complex. How tall would you say the police helicopter is? He's about 800 feet. So we're about twice as high as the police helicopter below. They're about 800 feet, we're about 1,500 feet. And it's typically what we do, not only on scenes like this, but even pursuit, for example, the police helicopter will always be lower than we are. And in some cases, just wanted to see who that was there. I wasn't sure if it was an officer coming up. In some cases, there's even 2 police ships, so that pushes us up even higher. But we're really not interfering in any way with what is going on down there, because we're just so high up. There's times when other ships may be a little too low, and then it limits the ability of the people on the ground to hear what is going on just because of the noise of the helicopter. But at the height that we're at right now, we're pretty good. And again, we're looking at the people that are up here on the roof. These are about 20 protesters who earlier in the day were peacefully protesting through the streets of Hollywood. But at some point, and I believe that point was after curfew, they found their way to this roof. And you see that woman there. I don't really know what her association is with any of this, but we have seen her up on the roof before. And she does seem very passionate about whatever she's explaining to the protesters. It's unclear if she perhaps lives in this apartment complex or if she was amongst the protesters themselves. So it's unclear to us at this time. We just know that we have seen her a couple times, and one of those times was actually up on the roof with the protesters. So they still have the invitation from the police department to come down voluntarily. That is still on the table. And when they do come down, though, they will be arrested for violating the curfew. They're not wanted in connection with anything else. And as we continue to watch this group, I'm still also monitoring the scanner to keep you posted on that other group that we were monitoring a few minutes ago. It was that group of protesters that was on Sunset and Gower. They're still marching, but they did break up into 2 groups. And we're still monitoring because we understand that all of those people will also be taken into custody at some point for violating the curfew. And you see the officers down there. There's a lot of them down there. A lot of them, though, are under the trees, so we can't make them all out, but there's at least 20 officers down there. We noticed that some were right at the door of the apartment complex. In fact, I just saw one go there through the shot. So we are, I just want to clarify, we are in no way tipping off the police to the fact that the protesters are up there. The light that you are seeing is from the police helicopter, so it is the police helicopter overhead that is letting the officers on the ground know that they are up there. And there was also a point when there was a group of officers that was able to go up to the complex right next to the one where everyone is up on the roof, and they were actually able to go face to face with the people up there. They went over right around there. The officers walked up to that portion of that apartment complex, and they were able to give the order for everyone to come down in person, just in case somehow the helicopter's order hadn't been clear. But regardless of whether it came from the helicopter or it came from the officers, the people refused to come down. So they're still up there, but diminishing as we speak. What started off as about 40 people is about 20, maybe a little bit less. We have seen some people come down while we've been up here. So as Sorrow comes around here, I wanted to look right there at the front entrance because that is where we had seen about 6 officers earlier that were waiting to make entrance into the apartment building, and I'm not seeing them anymore. So perhaps they're already inside of the building, but the only way that they're going to be able to get up to the protesters is if they make their way up to the roof access portion, which is that little area that you see there where most of them have gathered. Hopefully, though, it won't be necessary for the officers to come up there, and the people will just come down voluntarily. But again, even if they do come down voluntarily, they will be taken into custody for violating curfew. Okay. Right there. Let me go in infrared, okay? I think that's her. Yeah, right there. So for everyone who is watching us online, the only reason we're in the infrared here and focusing on one particular person up there is because they're actually in communication with someone at the station. So they gave us a call, perhaps trying to explain what is going up there, since we obviously can't hear what is going on up there. We can only see it and relay what we hear across the police scanner, which isn't always necessarily what is actually happening. It's just one version of events. So we are now in communication with somebody who is actually up there, and if we have any information to share in that regard, we of course will let you know. Yeah. Right there. no worries, Jack. So are we good for another 40? Fuel-wise, another 40 or? Oh, really? Jack, we're at about an hour, so we have about an hour left. Did you want us to go look at that address that Gil just texted? Go? Okay, cool. Can we go towards South LA? Let me tell you exactly which way, that way you know whether to call LAX. Trying to punch it up. I think it's going to be Compton. Not sure yet, but Gil just let us know something's going on. Yeah, it's going to be just next to Compton Airport on the west side of the airport. Thank you. And I believe we're still streaming, so I just want to let all of you who are watching know what we're doing here. We're going down to a call in Compton, and at this point I don't have all of the facts on it yet, so I don't want to give out the information just yet, but I can tell you that we're going near the area of Compton Airport, and as soon as we arrive on scene, of course, we will show you what that looks like. at the microwave desk. We're about maybe 3 minutes away. Project. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, they just failed. Back to the apartment complex. And for everyone who is still watching us online, we were heading down to the area of the 71091, roughly around that area. There was a pursuit. It was the Compton Sheriff's Department that was in pursuit of a reckless DUI driver. But that pursuit just came to an end when we were about a minute away from the scene. So we decided to turn around since it was no longer a public safety issue. And we're gonna head back to the apartment complex in the Hollywood area where when we left, what we had on the roof of the apartment was about 20 people who were refusing to come down, because when they do come down, the police department is custody for violating curfew. And that apartment is located on Van Ness and Rosewood. We should be back over there in about 5 minutes. But for now, I'll just show you what the city of Los Angeles looks like here. All of the buildings here in the downtown LA area. Oh, that's true, yeah. right around there. So again, we're making our way back to the Hollywood area. But in order to get there, we have to pass by downtown LA. And I want to show you something on the Wilshire Grand. The Wilshire Grand, of course, is the tallest building in downtown LA because of that spire that you see there. And you can just make out a heart there. And right there it says, thank you, and then medical workers. So thank you, medical workers. This was what the Wilshire Grant did to honor all of the first responders and healthcare workers that are on the front lines of the COVID pandemic. It's a tribute that they started now over a month ago. And every Thursday, the city actually lights up in blue. And you can actually see that some of the buildings stayed blue, like the US Bank Tower, also referred to as the Library Tower. It used to be the tallest building in downtown LA until the Wilshire Grand came along. So a little history there on downtown LA for you as we continue to make our way over back to Hollywood. Again, our destination is going to be that apartment complex on Rosewood and Van Ness, where there's all of those people still on the roof. And there's several other things going on, though, in the Hollywood area, including a lot of other protests that are still, or protesters, rather, that are still making their way through the city. We'll try to catch up with one of those groups as well, but we should be back in the area of Rosewood and Van Ness here in the next few minutes. Assignment Desk Alpha is back on scene, and things have changed since we left. Yeah. News Chopper 4 Alpha is back over the apartment complex here in Hollywood where all of those people were up on the roof. We left for about 10 minutes to try to catch a police pursuit that was making its way through Compton. And now that we're back on scene, we can see that there is a team of officers that have made their way to the top of the building. And you can see that they are taking the people who are up here into custody. There's now only about, I want to say only about like 6 people left. Let me use my doubler here because we're kind of keeping our distance because the police helicopter is right over the scene, so we have to maintain some distance from him. But it looks like during the time that we were gone, the police department made their way to the roof and is now taking all of these individuals into custody. We'll continue to capture these images on the roof, and then in a few minutes I'll tilt the camera down to the street, and we'll be able to see the people that were up on the roof now down on the street being taken into custody. From there, they will be placed either in vans or in the LA County Sheriff's transportation buses, and then from there they will go off to jail. Unrelated to this stuff. Are we able to get any bit closer? Cool, thank you. Cool, thank you. Just want to get a slightly tighter shot. And my pilot tonight is Saro Garabetian. We've been flying now together for since Sunday, I believe. We've been flying every day together. And he's trying to work his way a little bit closer to the building right now. We're having to reposition ourselves here. There's not only the police helicopter above, but there's also some other news helicopters. So we're slowly working our way so we can get a little bit closer and show you guys what's going on up here. It looks like our group of what started off at about 40 and then went down to 20 is now down to about 3. So you see the individuals there on the ground. Everyone appears to be calm though, and then following the orders of the authorities, which really shouldn't surprise us because these were the same folks that were protesting throughout the streets of Hollywood today, and the protests today were very peaceful. There was, of course, some looting and some vandalism here or there, but it is, in all likelihood, completely not connected to any of the protesters. It was rather just other groups that saw an opportunity while there was the protest going on to vandalize or loot some of the stores in the area. But for the most part, the thousands of people that we saw today come out here in the Hollywood area protested peacefully, calling for an end to police brutality and seeking justice for the death of George Floyd out in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But also, we saw some other names out there. We saw, for example, Trayvon Martin was one. I saw his name on some of the signs as well, and you may remember his case out of Florida. And there were some other images out there of other young men and women who have died in altercations with police. And so the protesters out here were not only asking for justice in the death of George Floyd, but also asking for justice in the deaths of other young African-American men and women. And now, these are going to be the last people to get off the roof. I believe we have maybe 1 or 2 more. Let me tilt the camera up. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Jamie. I was just talking to Jamie Banks back at our assignment desk in Universal City, and she was telling me that our station has actually been in communication with some of the people that were on the roof. I don't know if they gave us a call or we somehow got a hold of them, but we have been in communication with some of the folks that were up here, and we're going to have some interviews with those individuals during our 11 o'clock newscast. So that's definitely something you're going to want to tune into. Again, that's going to be the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock. We're, of course, going to continue to stream between now and then, but you're going to want to have your television ready for the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock to hear from some of the people that were actually up on the roof here today. And now that everyone is off the roof, we're going to focus on the street here. We want to see where everyone is going. So everyone who was on the roof, even if they came down voluntarily, was going to be arrested for violating curfew. And it looks like this is where they took the people that were on the roof. They're just on the street corner, about half a block away from the apartment complex, but they're still on Van Ness. Let me see if I can get you the cross. It's going to be Maplewood. So they're right at the cross of Maplewood and Van Ness, just up against the shrubs there. And we'll try to bring News Chopper 4 Alpha around a little bit so that we can get a better shot of those individuals now in the custody of the police. And you see that next to each person there is one officer, and that officer is just taking the information of each person that has been detained. And now we are in Koreatown. This is going to be 8th Street with a cross of Crenshaw, where there are dozens related to the curfew violations that we were talking about before. You see the large transportation bus there from the LA County Sheriff's Department. I see people being escorted to the bus as we speak, and everyone will be taken to jail. They'll be booked and likely released tonight, or in some cases not until tomorrow morning. But they will go through the entire process of getting arrested and booked. And you see that so far, since we arrived on scene just about a minute ago, we've already seen 4 people loaded up onto the bus. But as I use my doubler here to show you all of the people that are up against the fence, we've got about, let's see, that's about, I'm counting as I go down, it looks like it's closer to about 50 people just right there, but then the line keeps going. But those are officers. So yeah, we're looking at about, perhaps about 50 people that are being arrested here in the Koreatown area. Again, these are going to be 8th Street and Crenshaw. Crenshaw Boulevard is going to be the major here through the area. In terms of where we're at in relation to downtown, for example, Koreatown is just to the east. And we're north of the 10 freeway. We are west of the 110 freeway. And let's zoom in here to see who this is. And it looks like these are also protesters. So additional people that participated in today's peaceful protests that are also now being taken into custody. They are currently sitting on 8th Street. So that's going to be 8th, and you see all of the officers surrounding these individuals. A lot of them still have their signs that they were so proudly holding up today as they marched down the streets of Hollywood, just really letting their voices be heard in regards to calling for an end to police brutality and calling for justice in the death of George Floyd. And in the Hancock Park area, just outside of Mayor Garcetti's home, that's the Getty House, we did see a lot of signs that called for the defunding of the LAPD. So in all likelihood, these individuals that we are seeing are not related to the group that we saw in Hancock Park because it's quite a distance. But again, these individuals are being taken into custody, at least for the curfew violation. Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, this is fine. We're not live, but we're streaming. Yeah, this is a lot of people. We had about 50 people up against the wall. They were already in handcuffs, but then we've got the additional people still sitting here on the street. That's got to be at least 3 dozen people that are still down there. And then you think it's more than that, Sarah? You think another? You think about in this area alone? You think so? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. My pilot Saro and I were kind of just trying to estimate how many people are being apprehended here, and easily it's going to be 100 total just in this area alone. But we have seen a number of arrests happen tonight, including the ones that we were just looking at over in the Rosewood and Van Ness area. All of the people that were up on the roof. That alone was 40 people that were apprehended for being on the roof. So here we still have at least 50 people that are up against a wall, and that man right there being added to the line. But you still have all of these other people that are still in the middle of the street, surrounded by officers of the LAPD. And I can tell that it's LAPD just because of the uniform. it differs substantially from the LA County Sheriff's uniform. The Sheriff's Department has tan and green, so a green bottom and a tan top, and then the National Guard, within the last few days, their uniforms are all tan or camouflage in some cases. So all of the officers that we see here appear to be LAPD. And then I also wanted to show you all the cars here. All of the cars that you see here, with the exception of the police cruisers, of course, are going to be civilian vehicles, and these were the vehicles that were going with the protesters. They were protesting along, but they were in their vehicles, and in part just acting as barriers to the protesters to prevent them from getting hit by other vehicles. And we saw some people hanging out the windows or out the sunroofs, also participating in the protest. All of those vehicles will be towed, so the owners will have to pick them up from a tow yard in the morning if they get released from jail tonight. So in addition to the fees that come with getting arrested, they're unfortunately going to have the fee of having to get their vehicle out of a tow yard. Hey Jamie, we think there's 50 just up against the wall, right here, or up against this fence, and then over here, at least another 50, so anywhere from 100 to 150. They don't, yeah, that's true. They don't, yeah. No. So I know you guys can't hear what Saru is saying, but he brought up a good point, and that is that even though everyone that's being detained here is being arrested by the LAPD, they're using a LA County Sheriff's transportation bus. And the reason for that is that the LAPD doesn't have buses like this because they don't have jails the way that the LA County Sheriff's Department does. So, for example, Men's Central Jail, for example, in the downtown LA area, also known as Twin Towers, is controlled by the Sheriff's Department, as are all of the jails in our general area. So for that reason, because everyone is being transported to jail, they're going to go in an LA County Sheriff's transportation bus. Correct, yes. I should clarify that the police stations, so the LAPD stations, do have their jails within the stations, but those are very small. They're usually just temporary holding cells, and not jails to the size of something like Men's Central or the Women's Jail down in Linwood. And here goes one on the move. Now, I didn't notice if they were doing a mix of men and women on the bus. I know for sure that they loaded women onto the bus, so it's unclear if they have to take this bus all the way down to the women's jail, or if there's some sort of like intake center where they can do both men and women. It's not really something I had thought about before, but it's definitely something that we will look into to find out if they can mix genders like that and book everyone in the same location. I think they're gonna make them walk to the vans, at least. Okay. Yeah, there's more people on that wall there. Yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest arrest locations that we have seen tonight. How's our fuel, sir? Okay. Well conserved. Okay. Let me let them know. Assignment desk from Alpha. So that helps, yeah. I think there were other arrests over there, perhaps? I think. Let me call the desk again, let them know what our situation is. Assignment desk from Alpha. We have 30 minutes left. Perfect, that'll work out well, thank you. Alright. And for everyone who is just joining us, I'm Eliana Moreno up here in New Shopper for Alpha, along with Sarah Garabetian, continuing to watch the intersection of 8th Street and Crenshaw Boulevard in the Koreatown area. This is where at least 100 people are being taken into custody, maybe more. I think 100 is probably very conservative on our part, because all of the people that you see here are being arrested for violating curfew, and we already saw one sheriff's transportation bus depart the scene. You see the tow truck, though, coming in a frame there. The tow truck will be used to tow away at least one vehicle that was involved, or that was driven by someone who was involved in the protests today. But I can tell you that there's more than one vehicle here that will be towed. All of the vehicles that you see right there will be towed away tonight. And you see that there's still some additional people here, still waiting to be handcuffed by the authorities. Most of them are either just sitting down or laying down. And you see officers moving in there. They're just going one person at a time, taking them over to the sidewalk where they handcuff them and then take their information before they are put onto one of the transportation buses or vans, and then from there they go off to jail. And again, the people that we see here are being apprehended for violating curfew. The curfew, of course, starting tonight countywide at 6 o'clock. So anyone who was out after that time could have been arrested. Of course, I'm sure that there's some people who didn't get arrested that were out past 6 o'clock, but at least the people that were here, they did get arrested. And again, this is going to be 8th and Crenshaw here in the Koreatown area. Yeah. I think we do have a cut-in coming up. It's usually been at about 9:45, so. A cut-in, it's usually where, you know, they... Oh, really? Oh. Yeah. That makes sense. Because it's so small. to base. Yeah. And North Hollywood. 10-4. And for everyone watching, you can obviously tell that our camera angle has changed. We're starting to head towards the north. There's one thing we're going to check out in the North Hollywood area before we land for some fuel back at our home airport of Whiteman Airport in Pacoima. So we're still getting some of the information on the North Hollywood situation. Once we arrive on scene, of course, we'll show it to you and let you know what's going on. Flight time from Hollywood to North Hollywood is only about 5 minutes, so we should be there soon. Project. We're going, let's see, we're going to North Hollywood. I think we're going to Foot Locker, but let me double. Right off of Victory, right? Okay. Okay, that's exactly where we're going. Yeah, right off the Victory and the 170. So we are almost to the location in North Hollywood. We're heading to the 12,500 block of Victory Boulevard, which is going to be Victory just to the west of the 170, the North Hollywood Freeway. I believe that this is going to be related to a call we heard earlier at a Foot Locker store. So we are going to be there literally within the next minute. So I'm pushing in on that intersection now, and we will get to find out together if there's a scene there. pushing in on the building now, but Saro is going to come around and then we'll be able to look at the north side of the building so we can look at the front of the store. Right there. So the last store there on the right, and it looks like it's boarded up. But at some point there was some activity here today. Let me reach out to my assignment desk. Assignment desk from Alpha, we're on scene. Yeah, not anymore. I think the call is already about an hour old or so, so it must have happened earlier. So with that, we will continue on towards home. Will do. You can head towards home, Sarah. So we took a quick look at the Foot Locker there. We had heard earlier in the night that there was some activity there. And I'll try to get you guys the exact time when we heard that there was some activity happening at the Foot Locker. Let me see. I'll check my in my notes here. So right at around 8 o'clock, so a little bit after 8 o'clock, we did hear that there was some activity happening at the store. It's unclear if people were able to get away with anything, but as we saw, the store has now been boarded up. So it looks like perhaps at some point people may have tried to enter the store, but since then it has been secured. We are now making our way towards home, though. Our home base airport is Whiteman Airport, and then our sister ship, Bravo, they're out of an airport in the Orange County area. So we try to divide our resources so that we can be in as many places as possible. So we're on the northern end of the San Fernando Valley, and the freeways that we're coming up to are going to be the 5 and the 170 here. So we're almost to Whiteman Airport. Sauro's going to make some calls. Currently the tower's closed, so he doesn't have to talk to the tower, but he still has to make sure that there's no other aircraft that are either landing or taking off as we're trying to land. And once we do land, we're going to turn around and get some fuel, and then we hope to see you for the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock. We will have all of the information about everything that happened today and everything that led up to today, and what you can expect tomorrow in terms of a curfew and protest tomorrow as well. So that's it for me in News Chopper 4 Alpha, but you will be hearing from Gil Davis in News Chopper 4 Bravo in the next few minutes. Thank you and have a good night.